Hi, thanks so much for joining us. And Achal, thank you so much for the warm introduction. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you for your partnership. We love being here with you today in Mumbai. On stage today with me, I have Peter Soloway. Peter's one of our experts in employee experience and leveraging solutions to deliver on that. Peter, you want to introduce yourself just for a moment?
Yes, I lead our solution advisory team here in Asia Pac. So our team are the experts of our HR solution.
Fantastic. Okay, so when I got on the plane last night to come to Mumbai, there was a cyclone headed toward us. I thought it was going to be rainy and dreary. And I opened my window this morning, it's like beautiful and sunny. Do you guys surprise people like that all the time? And to get used to it, that's what I just heard in the front row. Okay, great. So, oh yeah, the clicker. Thank you, Peter. So we want to talk to you a little bit about some metrics that hopefully can help you in your business and making the case for why HR needs to invest in solutions and drive a better employee experience. I did it again. I did this yesterday too. I just went the wrong way. Okay. So here's the burning platform. 2/3 of our employees are disengaged. And we've all seen these people, right? When you walk through the office and they're buried in their phones. They're not actually enjoying their passion and purpose at work. They're not delivering the productivity and the revenue that our companies hope that they will because they're not engaged in what they're doing. How can we help drive that? It's one of the things we'll talk about today. 2 million employees turnover every month. This is a global average. But I have a feeling that India drives up the average. What do you guys think? Right? There's incredible turnover here. One of the biggest challenges we have with our customers in India is they want to retain that great talent, right? Really focus on how do we get them engaged and keep them engaged longer term. We'll tell some stories about some customers that are doing this really well across the globe. And then last, and Peter, I might ask you to expand on this a little bit, 80% of consumers switch brands because of a poor experience. Why is this important to HR? It's important because it's our employees that are driving that incredible customer experience, right? All of our companies have customers. We all want to give them a great experience so that they continue to spend their money with us. The only way we do that is if our employees are engaged and excited about what they do. Peter?
Yeah, I was saying to Jill just yesterday, because as consumers, I think we think about the experience as consumers more often than we sometimes think of our experience as employees. You might be able to tell from the accent that I come from Australia. So to get here to Mumbai, I had to fly via Singapore. And as a consumer of the bathroom facilities in Singapore airport, I don't know if you've been, but there's an iPad that actually has 5 smiley faces to ask you what was your experience using the toilet. So I just thought that was quite an interesting anecdote with regards to capturing people's experience, both as consumers and as employees.
The Singapore airport does have me coming back time and time again, but that's because it's the only airport in
Not
Singapore.
Because of the facilities.
Also, the restroom facilities are good, yeah. Okay, so what really is the issue with the employee experience? Well, there's a gap. There's a gap today between what we as executives believe is happening in the field and how employees are actually perceiving it. And we've done some research around this, and what we found is that 69% of executives believe that their employees are engaged. Clearly, they're not looking at the people on their phones in the corner, right? In reality, 34% of employees say that they're truly engaged. And this is something that HR has been talking about for a long time. We are all working on addressing this issue. But is it broader than what we're looking at today, and is there a different way to approach it? We'll talk about that a little bit more. 71% believe employees are satisfied with their benefits. As executives, we think, well, everybody's working for, a paycheck that we think is pretty good. But employees don't agree. They believe that benefits could be better. 48% think that their benefits are fair, so that's below the 50% mark. And then last, 81% of our executives believe that employees would recommend us as a company to work. However, only 38% really would, right? So out on social media, all that energy that's driven around recognizing on Glassdoor and other places, companies that are a great place to work, only 38% of people really believe that they would recommend their company. So there's a gap. There's a gap between what executives in the boardroom believe is happening and where employees in reality see their experience. Okay, so I've just given some bad news. Here's the good news. The good news is that we, as companies who focus on employee experience, can deliver 17% higher productivity per employee. When we get it right, it makes a huge difference. And so when all of you are putting together your business cases for your board to justify a new solution or more investment in focusing on that people experience, remember that 17% productivity gains are what will follow. Another number that boards tend to respond to well is 3 times more revenue for employee. And we can give you the detail behind this, but it's been proven that more revenue is delivered when employees are having a great experience, when they experience psychological safety in their environment, and when they're truly engaged in the job that they're doing. And then last, and this one's specifically relevant for the audience today in India, is that 40% lower turnover can be achieved when you're really winning in the employee experience game. Okay, so how do we get there? Peter, do you have some answers for us?
Right, so we invite you to pull out your phones and scan the QR code. Hopefully you have a QR code reader on your phone, or if you have an iPhone, just take a photo using your camera. And what we're going to do is some live sentiment analysis, because having an annual employment survey is useful, but that can be up to 12 months out of date. So we're going to ask a series of questions of you in the audience through your phone. Now, if you don't have a QR code reader and you'd like to participate, just type in this address in your web browser, polev.com, and enter this code. So we'll just give you a couple of minutes to load that up.
I told Peter I'm always the slowest when this happens, so we'll give everyone an extra minute. It always takes me a while to dig out my phone and then get to the QR code. You can use your camera, right, Peter? In most phones, you can just
yeah,
scan with your
the
camera.
Apple, like many things, Apple makes it super easy. So if you're on an Apple, just just load your camera. And if you're on an Android, use your QR application, or just go into the internet, or on your laptop as well. And it's just polev.com, and then this code.
How's everybody doing? Give me like a head nod. Actually, give me an Indian head nod if it's going well out there. Is it going well out there? Yeah.
Getting there, okay.
Okay, do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yes,
Or
please.
into the activity? Do you trust me with the clicker?
Of course.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, look, it's the Singapore bathroom smiley faces. Have you guys been to
That's actually-
Changi? You've been through and seen this, right? You just go in and click. How clean was it? Oh, look, they're happy this morning.
Right, so we're getting some live feedback coming through.
Oh, fantastic.
We've got a few people there in yellow. There is coffee for those people that are feeling a bit yellow right now at the back of the room. Sugar as well.
Wouldn't it be great if we could deliver coffee and snacks directly to the people that were in the yellow? That would be like applying the operational and the experience data together.
Now, we did this in Delhi a few days ago. We had one person with a red face, so I'm very glad to see that no one is upset today.
How do you get outside the smiley faces?
That's when you're super happy.
It's when you're super happy.
So you can imagine, and what we're going to talk a little bit more about in a HR context is having that continual feedback from employees and making sure that we're constantly doing the pulse check. Because when we have a look at different HR processes, whether it be onboarding, whether it be a learning journey, it's listening to employees and understanding why something that occurred. That allows us to constantly improve and enhance our offering as HR practitioners.
Okay, this was just a warm-up exercise though, right?
Yes,
This was just
the question's going to get a little harder next
The
time.
questions get harder.
All right, so how effectively does your organisation understand your employees' experience?
Oh, wow, people responding quickly. So this is where that employee experience gap exists, right? And I know most of you are probably closer to it than some of your other colleagues. Moderately effective, great. There's some that are extremely, that's fantastic. Love to know what they're doing.
And this is shaping up to be very interesting, because every time we've run this survey, we are getting a bell curve.
Yeah.
It's very
Right.
similar no matter where we go. Which tells me that everyone is starting to think about this stuff, because we are very quickly acknowledging the experience economy. We're dipping our toe in the water, but not very many at extremely effective, and we get a few people not effective at all there.
Let me ask you, how many of you have organizations that are actively talking about employee experience? I know we've been talking about engagement for a long time, but what about experience? Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
Okay, and so that's where we have about half the crowd, it looks like, that are already talking about employee experience, but I'm sure we're going to move more to the extremely effective very quickly, right? As we're talking more and more about how to create an environment where those experiences every day for employees are fun and interesting.
So the last question for you all, now this is multi-choice, so you can choose more than once. What are you doing at the moment within your organisations to help curate or be the custodian of that experience for your workforce? And so already, perhaps unsurprisingly, the biggest metric there is the annual engagement survey. That's something that I think has been happening now for a long time. With the second one being continually capturing employee feedback.
I love it when we see that growing, right? Because that really is what makes a difference today, because we know that feedback, when given more immediately, can really have a greater impact on the employee.
Yeah, and I think this is where we're seeing technology trends with HR, and the big difference is embedding that the technology to be able to listen and capture throughout those moments that matter for your employees.
All right, great overview. Fun to know where the audience is.
Can I have the...
Okay, over to you.
Thank you. So how do you make this happen? We believe there's two types of data you need to be able to really engage the employee experience. And so the first one is what we call OData, operational data. And it's something we've been doing at various levels of maturity for a very long time in HR software. So this is looking at how many people have left, what were their biographics, are there any trends over the people that we're hiring? So essentially, what has happened and is that going up or down? But the big difference we see now is capturing the X data, or the experience information. And so now we're looking at things like trust, sentiment analysis, engagement, values and diversity. Because the thing is, your workplace culture and the experience of your employees is already publicly available. So you can go on glassdoors.com, LinkedIn, and you can get that information about your business externally. And Jill, I thought I'd ask you at this point, you manage a wildly diverse team across Asia. What has been some of your experience internally with experience data recently?
You know, experience data is so relevant for us. So I have a team of over 200 people that work across Asia, Pacific, and Japan. And obviously it's different on this side of the planet, every place is different, right? Japan is different from India, is different from Australia. But what we found across the board was that while benchmark data needs us to be at about 75% positive for well-being, our employees were more in the 35 to 40 range, right? That's a drastic underperformance in well-being. And so we have to focus on that. Now, we had to break into that data. We had to really drill down, because where is that happening and why? So we had some additional follow-on questions. And obviously in Japan, people are overworked, right? You've seen the trends. People are working at their desk. How do we solve for that? What are the activities that we're going to take, right? So we take that experience data, understanding that well-being in Japan, people are not feeling great about it. It's great that we can get it on a survey, because they don't talk about it, right, in the office. But then you can turn to your operational data and say, how do we really control when they're working? How do we get more information and encourage them to not work weekends, for example, right? So that they can get some rest and rejuvenation before they come back to work next week. And we've done that in each of our regions across APJ, figuring out how do we enable our teams to solve for some of the experiences that they're having by using both the X and the O data.
Thank you, Jill. So yes, the experience data and the operational data are two things we need to capture. But then as HR, the people in this room, there is no function or people better placed in business to be the custodians of that experience for the workforce. Any moment in time, any particular time is a moment, but some moments you'll remember forever, like maybe when you graduate university, for example. I'll share again with the audience that the moment that I remember in August last year was when my partner and my parents-in-law visited Varanasi for the first time. First of all, traveling with your parents-in-law in itself is an experience. I won't say whether it's positive or negative, but Varanasi was just so wonderful and something so memorable for me. Jill, did you have any moments in your career or personal life that are memorable?
Whenever I hear you talk about Varanasi, first of all, I'm so jealous, because I haven't been yet, and I need to experience Varanasi, I understand. Would everybody here agree? That's a great place to visit in India. Okay, so I moved 3 years ago, my entire family and my dog, from Texas to Singapore. And it was a huge jump. I have 2 teenagers. My daughter was not thrilled about this move. Her experience data would have been very low, because I was taking her out of her social bubble, right, to come across to the other side of the planet where she knew no one. My son's a little more laid back, as boys can be when they're teenagers. My dog wasn't particularly happy once he got to Singapore, because it's really hot all the time. But here's the thing. Our HR organization at SAP, as well as the management that was committed to helping me in that transition, made it the most amazing experience, even through the bumps, right? Even through I had my leader meet with my daughter, right? So the person I was reporting to met with my daughter to help her understand the experience of Asia and what that would bring to her in life, right? What an amazing experience for me to have someone invest in my family. And when we talk about the human revolution, and we talk about the fact that solutions, it's not just about driving this data. It's about creating more of those human moments where you're really connecting with another person. And I feel like India does this better than anywhere else. I feel like when I come to India, you guys get human connection, right? And so using solutions to increase the amount of human connection is what the human revolution is all about. I've had a great experience with it here in Asia. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Jill. And so likewise, your employees are going to have moments that matter for them. We all come to work in part to improve our lives and to support our families, and we have aspirations. So when we have a look at the functions we do within HR, your employees are going to have their first day on the job. They might start a family for the first time, or they might become a manager for the first time. And it's our processes, it's our technology, it's our custodianship that can make these moments memorable for the wrong reasons, because they were highly stressful and didn't know where to go, or had to touch a million different things, or they can be amazing opportunities for growth and achievement. It's really important because a few statistics, if you were to plug all of your work life, the average work life together in one shift from start to end, it would be a 15-year shift. So we work about 15 years of our lives end to end. Take out the time you sleep. A big part of what we do is work. So it is really important to think about those moments. And so likewise, the HR platforms and processes that we need to provide our people need to be reimagined, because while our teams are split into functional areas, we have our learning experts, we have our recruiting experts. As an employee, the employee experience doesn't think in siloed manners. So when we engage with technology, it's not about going into one module and then out into another. So the candidate experience for people that are going to start with your company, that starts or should start long before they hit the apply button, right, in terms of talent management and CRM. And the employee experience, again, is totally different because employees are casual users of HR. So they're not always talking to HR, they're not always using HR systems, but they need that to be super intuitive and just really easy to use. And then finally, the HR experience, because this is the tools of your trade. And again, there's a different experience we need in the HR platform for those type of stakeholders. Right, so I think we're going to end. We've got 5 minutes left sharing some stories about some global best practice around how these businesses have really leveraged employee experience. So I'm going to start with the first one with Ernst & Young. So Ernst & Young is a professional services firm. So their number one asset is their people. They monetize their people. So they realized and they wanted to be an employer of choice around the globe. We've chosen to share this with this audience because Ernst & Young have 37,000 people in the country. They're across 17 different offices, 7 different cities and 32 offices, so a really big presence here. And their number one goal was to be employer of choice. One of the first things they did was focus on the candidate experience and the onboarding experience and use emerging technologies, in this case, chatbots. So chatbots are an emerging technology based on natural language processing. And when we stood this system up, we had an estimated 6,000 queries is what we thought would go through the onboarding process. In the first month, there were 50,000. So the adoption was just phenomenal. And it has paid off in spades for Ernst & Young because in 2016 and 2017, in 5 countries, they have one employer of choice.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, so I wanted to highlight Nestle because it's a brand that we all know. Specifically in India, Nestle's been around for over 100 years. They've got 8 manufacturing plants here in India. They've got 4 major offices across the country. And Nestle is an amazing organization with all that they do. But they also were scoring very low on employee experience. And so they knew they had to make some improvements. Employee experience, though, can be a broad field, right? Where do you start? So they started with 3 things. First, with continuous performance management. Second, with mobile, enabling the entire HR experience and creating a broad HR experience, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then last, succession planning. Because when you plan for the success and progression of your top talent, that keeps them around. That helps them stay, right? Top talent stays when they know they have a career path. All right, well, let's back up a little bit. Continuous performance management. In the audience today, we saw that many of you are still doing annual performance engagement, right? Performance surveys. But today, companies are moving to more of this continuous performance management. And you have to make that easy and make it an overall cultural change for your organization. So what Nestle did is they created on the app a way for employers and employees to share performance feedback bidirectionally. And that helped to engage employees in a way that they were already working, right, on their mobile device. And it's really helped to drive not only performance feedback activity, but also development and learning and development across their organization. The last I want to talk about Nestle, though, is really about how they enabled their entire organization on mobile. So today, we know that you can do a lot of things on mobile, and there are some best-of-breed HR tools that you can use. What Nestle did, though, they used our app to do everything in HR, and then also, some of you may not know this, but the SuccessFactors tool can be used just to connect with people. So through the org chart functionality, and I think you'll see this later this afternoon, you can actually connect with people right there via text or a phone call. And so it's a really easy way to go find someone and then reach out to them immediately, whether that's to ask for their help or to give them some feedback. And so this is thinking beyond just the HR activities, but actually connecting people, right? Using an easy app and keeping them engaged through the use of that app in their HR and moments that matter in their career life.
Great. The last one we'll share with you is American Airlines. So we've chosen this because the airline industry is exponentially growing in India. In fact, I noticed as I landed at Mumbai airport, there was advertisements over all the screens saying that India is aiming to be the 3rd largest aviation market in the world. Now, American Airlines actually doesn't service India. However, this is a typical merger and acquisition story. So a couple of years back, American Airlines merged with US Airways, and by a number of metrics, including fleet size, they are now the largest airline in the world, and they operate in 60 countries. So like many of your organizations have a global footprint. And that had humongous challenges for their HR platform because they had 60 disparate payroll systems, most of them on premises. So their number one challenge was first of all to move all of that to one cloud platform. And I'm not sure if you can read that at the back, but a couple of really key achievements for them. First one was internal job mobility. So having all of these two major firms join together, there were 3 times the amount of job applications internally. So making sure that the talented people were highlighted and moved to the right areas after that acquisition and merging those cultures together on one platform. But secondly, and I guess this is more for the bean counters or the accountants, but they were so proud that there was 0 HR-related payrolls after moving 60 payrolls into one cloud platform. So phenomenal success there. All right, and with that, we hope that's inspired you a little bit to think about how important the employee experience is as HR custodians of the workforce and how they're interacting with technology, and also the intersectionality of work and life and how we curate those experiences for our people.
So thank you all for your time today. We'll be around throughout the day and would love to talk to you more about your own experience and how you're driving employee experience at your companies. Thanks again.
Thank you.